Sabhajan Vishudhena Chetasa Chachikirishitram Praharshamanairashubhi Kardamam Chetam Abhyadat. Word by word meaning. Synonyms. Sabhajan, worshipping. Vishudhena, pure. Chetasa, with a heart. Tat, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chikirshitam, the intended activities. Praharshyamani, gladdened. Ashubhi, with senses. Kardamam, to Kardama Muni. Cha, and Devahuti. Idam, this. Abhyadhat, spoke. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. After worshipping the Supreme Lord with gladdened senses and a pure heart for his intended activities as an incarnation, Brahma spoke as follows to Kardama and Devahuti. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, anyone who understands the transcendental activities, the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to be considered liberated. Brahma is therefore a liberated soul. Although he is in charge of the material world, he is not exactly like the common living entity. Since he is liberated from the majority of the follies of the common living entities, he was in knowledge of the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he therefore worshipped the Lord's activities. And with a glad heart, he also praised Kardama Muni because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Kapila, had arrived as his son. One who can become the father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly a great devotee. There is a verse spoken by a Brahmana in which he says that he doesn't know what the Vedas and what the Puranas are, but while others might be interested in the Vedas or Puranas, he is interested in Nanda Maharaj, who appeared as the father of Krishna. The Brahmana wanted to worship Nanda Maharaj because the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a child crawled in the yard of his house. These are some of the good sentiments of devotees. If a recognized devotee bring forth the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, how he could be praised. Therefore, Brahma not only worshipped the incarnation of Godhead Kapila, but also praised his so-called father Kardama Muni. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namo Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Protokamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpataru Vishakripa Sindhu Vacha Pasitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivash Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lachal Nivasa Nitya Paramatmane Prabhadra Subhadrabhyang Jagannath Hayate Namo. So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha. Here we're discussing a beautiful subject matter wherein Kardama Muni and Devahuti has procreated his son as the 10th child after 9 daughters. And as you know, this canto is actually a discussion between Maitreya Muni and Vidurji. So Maitreya Muni and Vidurji, they're discussing the subject matter on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And within that, within the loop of that, there is a discussion about Kardama Muni and Devahuti and the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the son of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. And in this verse, Brahmaji has come, and as he has the news that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is born as the son of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, he is taking darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as you can see, Maitreya Muni, Vidurji, talking about Kardama Muni, Devahuti, and they have given birth to a child, a 10 child, their 10 child after 9 daughters named Kapiladev. And Brahmaji has come to take darshan of Kapiladev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, born to Kardamuni Devhuti. So that's the context we are in. And here, Vyasadeva writes, Sabhajayan Vishudhena Chetesa Tacha Chikirshitam Praharsyamanai Rashuvi. Praharsa means Praharsa. Harsha means happiness. Praharsa means gladdened, as La Prabhupada translates gladdened. Brahmaji is gladdened to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead born to Kardamuni. So we're going to discuss the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a very significant affair in our sadhana of Krishna consciousness and Krishna conscious sadhakas like us. So the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearance of Lord Krishna is Janmashtami, appearance of Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Gaur Purnima, and appearance of Jagannath, Lord Jagannath, is Snan Purnima. So the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very significant. And Srila Prabhupada is quoting from fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita as the person who understands the transcendental activities around the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is considered to be liberated. So with that, we are going to discuss the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how we should understand as sadhakas and the context around when the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears. So many significant devotees of the Lord, they come to take darshan of the Lord. So we'll discuss a little bit. So try to immerse within this wonderful pastime which happened in Bindu Sarovar in the western part of India, where Kardamuni's hermitage is, and how the beautiful since last 3-4 chapters, we have been discussing a lot about Kardamuni Devhuti and why it is so important for our understanding of Krishna consciousness. We'll talk a little bit about it. So now you all know the context we all are talking about. So Brahmaji appeared at Kardamuni and Devhuti's hermitage, and Kapiladev was Kapiladev eventually became Kapila Muni, and he appeared, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and taking his darshan, Brahmaji is very happy, is very pleased, and is gladdened to take darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, different devotees of the Lord, who are very prominent devotees, when Krishna appeared in Gokul, as La Prabhupada is quoting in the purport, that having Supreme Personality of Godhead as the birth of the child is a very significant step in understanding that the type of devotee, the quality of devotee, the deep sentiment the devotees carry is so important. And when Krishna appeared, like Kapiladev appeared, Brahmaji is appearing. Brahmaji is the creator, is the co-creator with the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's instructions. He created this entire, so he could know the Supreme Personality of God has come and he is born and he has come to take darshan. Likewise, when Lord Krishna was born in Gokul, Lord Shiva came to take darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. But the maid, seeing that, a person with snakes around his neck and with ash around his body, and has come, she went and gave the information to Mother Yashoda inside. And Mother Yashoda, thinking that there's an old person who is looking for alms, gave a lot of groceries and rice and vegetables through the maid to give it to Lord Shiva, who is outside. Lord Shiva says, "No, I'm not here to take this. I'm here to only have darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appeared recently, and Mother Yashoda says, "My Lala, my Kanha is going to get fearful by seeing." And Lord Shiva says, "I won't leave this place. I'll go into samadhi if I don't see Lala." And he says, "Your son, who is the manifester of creation and annihilation, is not afraid of death. So, mother, you don't worry about his death. You just give me the darshan." And when Mother Yashoda recognized that Lord Shiva is not going to leave the place, and Lord Shiva, once he takes samadhi, he leaves, doesn't go out of samadhi for hundreds, thousands of years. Then she recognized, and eventually gave darshan of Lala to Lord Shiva, and that was just a beautiful union of divine personalities. So Lord's appearance, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, is divine, and we have to understand the appearance and disappearance of Lord is very unique, and we have to have that mood to understand his appearance and internalize it in our life, so that we could celebrate his appearance and disappearance in a way which is which Vaishnavas have been doing, especially the appearance of the lordships are coming up, and how we should take to service in celebrating. So, Srila Prabhupada is quoting from the 4th chapter, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Evam Yo Veti Tattvata, Tokta Deham Punarjanma, Naimi Naiti Mam Iti Arjuna. That means one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities doesn't, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in the material world, but attain my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So Arjuna was confused, like most of us, and that is where Krishna is saying Lord's appearance and disappearance is very difficult to understand. And once a true devotee of the Lord can understand the appearance and disappearance, and as you can see in the middle picture, Nanda Baba is hosting a grand feast in celebration of Lord's appearance in the courtyard, and that's the day after the appearance of the Lord Krishna, Janmashtami, which is called Nandotsav. And in that picture, as you can see, Nanda Baba is very happy and is celebrating the appearance of Lord's. So when we think about Nanda Baba and Yashoda, why did Nanda Baba and Yashoda have the benefit of parenting the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So before the life of Nanda Baba and Yashoda, they were Drona and Dhara, and they were Vasus. They were essentially they had deep desire. They had done a lot of sacrifices, and they have prayed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead the, immensely to have the Supreme Personality of Godhead born as the progeny of them, and because of that, uh, so there is a reason why Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, and as you can see, Dasarat Maharaj is so happy to host and see that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Ram is born in his and he played in his yard. And as Srila Prabhupada is quoting so beautifully, that when Lord appears, there is a reason why Lord appears at that in that family or in that courtyard, and the parent of those are so. So when we talk about growing up in Krishna consciousness, we have to grow in character, not in position. The growing in character has to do with understanding the significance of great devotees, such as Dasrath Maharaj, Nanda Maharaj, Jagannath Mishra, for that matter, and and how and why the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared in these personalities' house. And once we go deep into this subject matter, we realize that how we could increase our Krishna consciousness in such a way that we feel the importance of Lord's presence. Because when the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in somebody's house over a period of time, and he stays and he crawls in the yard and he exhibits his pastime, it is very pleasing to the mortal souls, and that is where it is imperative that as devotees we understand the power of devotion. These parents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead must have undertaken the penances they must have undertaken over a period of time, and which is why the Supreme Personality of Godhead decided to take birth in their house and exhibit pastimes. So, which is exactly here. Similarly, Brahmaji is coming all the way to take darshan of Kapiladev, who is born as the kid of Kardamuni and Devahuti. And by seeing uh, this, he is immensely gladdened. So when we have the appearance of the Lord, we should all participate in such a as some of the significant personalities like Lord Shiva is coming to see and take darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Brahma is coming to take darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So from this, they teach a lesson to us that whenever Lord's appearance is celebrated, let's do service in such a way and take darshan. And the darshan, our Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur always mentioned, when darshan of the Lord is being discussed, it is not you are taking darshan of the Lord. You should do service in such a way that Lord, out of the 1,000 devotees who have come to see him, Lord sees you because you stand out in the mood to serve the Lord. And that is the reason why during the festivals it brings the service mentality among us. And we think of taking a step further in celebrating the festival so that Lord can see us instead of we taking darshan of the Lordship. We should do service in such a way that Lord sees us, and with that, when Lord sees us, we become pure in our devotion, in our ability to serve again and again and again. So the appearance, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, is very significant in every step of the way. Why Lord takes birth in a certain house, why Lord came in the Lord King Dashrath's house, why Lord came in Nanda Baba's house, and why Lord came in Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata's house is something to ponder about. And Lord's appearance is very unique, very transcendental, and and Brahmaji, who is a very exalted person who created this entire universe as a secondary creator, has recognized, and as Srila Prabhupada is writing, that seeing Lord in his child form as Kapiladev is something which is very pleasing to the eyes, because eventually the child is eventually going to become, and he will give treatise to and big theories and concepts, spiritual concepts to Mother Devahuti. And there's a beautiful picture of Kapiladev teaching Mother Devahuti about the life's lessons, and that is where it is glorified, and all the great personalities such as Maitreya Muni and Vidurji is discussing about this wonderful activity. When great people act in such a way, and great individuals talk about it, and when those great individuals talk about it, that gets imprinted in Srimad Bhagavatam for us to recognize and immerse ourselves in those pastimes. So Lord's appearance is divine, and Brahmaji is recognizing that, and in doing so, uh, he is uh, giving respects to the parents and giving blessings to the parents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this case, Kapila born to Mother Devahuti and Kardama Muni. And this entire event is because soon Kardama Muni is going to go take sannyas and he's going to leave Mother Devahuti and under the protection of her son Kapiladev. And then there is another activity which is going to happen. And in the meantime, Brahmaji asks Kardamuni to get the 9 daughters married to 9 prominent rishis. And in coming verses, we're going to discuss that all the 9 daughters are married to very, very prominent rishis. We don't want to discuss that now. And after that, Kapiladev takes care of his mom, Kardamuni, and then um, his mom, Devahuti, and Kardamuni leaves the house into the forest for doing penances. So as you think about this verse, there's a lot Srila Prabhupada has spoken about that for some devotees, it is not the Puranas and Vedas which are important. It is just by following the footsteps of great devotees who have hosted a son, like Nanda Maharaj in this case, in the example Srila Prabhupada is saying, that is enough. And for them, Puranas and Vedas are not important. It is recognizing the purity of Nanda Baba, which is immensely important. And likewise, thinking about some of the qualities of the parents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead makes a person think about the kind of sacrifices they have done in their life to host them. And Nanda Baba, for that matter, when he was hosting, there was a lot of attacks in Gokul, and how Krishna, Balram, they protected and they had to go through a lot of challenges. So to father and mother, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is not an insignificant thing. It is very significant in our uh, in a sadhaka's understanding of those pastimes. And as Brahmaji is coming, Brahmaji, as you know, is uh, is the is the prominent personality to have been created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, because Brahmaji comes from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu when he's lying in Garbhodaka ocean. And from there, from the lotus, Brahmaji appears. So Brahmaji, as the second creator, goes out and he creates Narad Muni, Kardama Muni, and so many prominent personalities. And from them, different progenies from rishis get created, Rudras get created, and eventually the progenitors expands and this entire universe gets created from Brahmaji. So Brahmaji is very happy to see the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and when he is doing it, he is uh, he is uh, is very happy with Kardamuni and Devahuti, and he's blessing Kardamuni Devahuti, and he with because he has this pure heart, and with that pure heart, when he's seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead appear, he's getting a lot of happiness internally, and and leaves a big lesson for all of us that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is significant, and we should all do a lot of service so that Lord sees us eventually, similar to how Brahmaji has come all the way to see the appearance of Kapiladev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead of the 26 odd incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kapiladev is very prominent, and towards the later chapters, we're going to discuss more and more about the interaction between Kapiladev and Mother Devahuti, which are often life lessons for a lot of devotees. And also, the second thing this verse talks about is to see the devotees of the Supreme Personality of God at a higher stature, not just the Supreme Personality of God. Supreme Personality of God is also important, but our method of our method of uh, devotion is through disciplic succession, through evam parampara praptam. So we believe in giving the devotee of the Lord importance in our movement. So when we recognize the importance of the parents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the kind of devotion they have gone through, we can recognize the parampara, the reciprocal succession very clearly as to why they are very important, because they are the devotees of the Lord. The devotees and devotees of the Lord and devotees of the Lord are to be cared for in our ability to grow in Krishna consciousness. So once we start having the devotee care, paradukhe dukhi, in our ability to understand the devotees' desire and where they're coming from, and collectively, cooperatively living in a very united society, we will grow not just as a society, but as devotees. So a lot to talk about in this verse. When Lord's appearance comes, all the celestial personalities they appear, and the parents of the Lord. And the second takeaway, the parents of the Lord, where Lord appears, they are significant. So those are the two takeaways for this beautiful verse. If you have any comments and questions, we can discuss later. Otherwise, want to end here. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Madam. We'd like to wish you all a happy and safe Krishna conscious day ahead. And we'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare
Krishna Singha, Jaina Singha,
Hare.
Jaina Singha,
Prahladesh,
Mukha
Padma Bhingam, Ugram Veeram
Vishnu Chalantam, Singam Yashanam, Singh Bhagwan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Let's offer our humble obeisances to all the Simul Vaishnavas, Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Granth Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Hari.
Thank you, Jagannath Prabhu. Thank you, everyone. Hare
Krishna. Thank you.